Hey everybody, this is Tommy, World at War Comics, and I have another amazing guest. This is director, producer, writer, cameraman, Ben Mainard from the UK. He is helping with ASAP Imagination, which is an amazing publisher out of the UK, with a new film called The Conversation. And what I love about this movie is taking two very popular characters within ASAP Imagination, the world that's been created. And it is Foe, which is a very fun and very popular character, and the Dead Knight. You got to check this out. It looks absolutely amazing. I interview Ben, and we kind of go over the entire process as they begin filming, putting everything together, working with Hades, who is the founder and president of ASAP Imagination. The storylines that have been put together. It's been a lot of fun, and right now they have a Kickstarter where you can participate in this movie by not only supporting it, but there are even rewards where you could have your picture in the film. So make sure that you watch this next video. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. ASAP Imagination is amazing. They do a lot of great work. They already got the actors. They are currently looking on locations, and this is going to be a lot of fun, everyone. Get over to asapimagination.com, check out the world that's been created, and then head over to Kickstarter. Both links are right below. All right, without further ado, here is Ben and I. Thanks, everybody. Hope you're having a great week. Well, everyone, welcome to World at War Comics. My next special guest, Mr. Ben Mainard. He is a director, editor, cameraman, producer, all kinds of awesome things. I cannot wait to talk to you about this new film coming out in partnership with ASAP Imagination, my good buddies over there in the UK. But before we jump into that, Ben, how are you doing this week?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. It's good to talk to you, and I cannot wait to learn a little bit more about what you've been working on. But before we jump into that, I would love to kind of go back in time, if that's okay, and understand where this passion for filmmaking and storytelling has started for you.
Yeah, so it pretty much all started from being a fan, really. Watching movies, growing up, watching TV shows, Saturday morning cartoons, all that good stuff. And yeah, it was kind of, I sort of started doing regular jobs, and never really thought that this would be a vocation that I could kind of do. It wasn't really sort of something that was instilled in us from our sort of schooling sort of departments. And then I kind of got into it sort of weirdly through work. It was a work I was working for, and we sort of started making videos, and I did posters for them and all that kind of good stuff. And then, it just went from there, really. I sort of got the bug, took it out on the road, and kind of we filmed events, and we kind of filmed at Comic Cons and things like that. And then, kind of through the Comic Cons, I got into a TV company. And worked with them on some bits and bobs, one of which was again doing a Comic Con sort of TV show. And that led to sort of films and other little bit bobs, and here I am, kind of doing sort of all these little great things with films, with TV, and kind of trying to carve my own little sort of niche in this kind of world. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I feel like, and again, probably just my ignorance and, obviously from a fan looking at production and producing all that good stuff, it seems like a really hard industry to break into. I don't know if that is true. Has it been fairly difficult to get to where you're at now?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that you sort of hear other people say the same thing, and it is not a case of it's not what you know, it's who you know, but definitely I think it's a lot of right place, right time. At least it certainly was for me. Kind of you meet people, you kind of I think if you're doing that thing, like if it's comics or if it's animation or anything you want to do, if you're doing it, people that are where you want to be will see it, or you'll weirdly cross paths with people. So the best sort of thing to do is just be doing it, whether it's you're shooting stuff on a phone or, you're just making stuff, creating, and weirdly that your paths will align. It's kind of really bizarre, but that's kind of how it worked for me. Just kind of I was doing my thing and I just bumped into people who were doing the same thing, and it's weirdly kind of always led that way. That's how I kind of met Hades. It was exactly the same way, just kind of doing our thing. It's really bizarre.
Yeah, Hades is a great guy, man. One of my favorite people to talk to. So I think that's a good connection there, Ben. I would love to kind of talk about some of the other things that I see that you have worked on, and maybe you could kind of share what was the first kind of professional thing that you did in film and or TV. I'm going to name off some names. Hopefully these are connected to you. They were in my research, but you just never know, right? So
You never
we have the
know.
I'm Charlie Walker. Did you work on
Yep.
that?
I did, yeah. So that was really good. So going with a guy who runs fan films, and it really that just started as I saw the film. thought it was really kind of good. I did some fan art really initially. I just saw it and kind of got an idea for how I thought a poster would kind of look with the 70s vibe. Posted it online, and then they contacted me and said, we really like this poster. We're thinking of making it the actual official poster. Would you like to do some more work on it? And I was like, yeah, that'd be great. And through then, I just kind of, got into a bit more. They had a title sequence that they kind of wanted to change up a little bit. That they kind of wanted to do something new. So I started on, doing. I said, well, look, leave it with me. Let me see what I can do. Um, and so I looked at it, kind of reworked the title sequence. I done some other nameplates and other little VFX pieces in there. And it's just stemmed as a good partnership with them through that as well. And then I've gone on to do other things with that company as well, and other films that can't quite talk about yet because, but you have to sign things and whatnots. But yeah, it's been really, really interesting. But yeah, that started all from, just fan art essentially.
That's pretty awesome, man. That's one good way to get into it, right? Show yourself,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And then,
Exactly. Well, it's like I said earlier. Yeah.
no, please.
Sorry. Yeah, no, it's just like saying earlier. Like, again, if you're putting yourself out there, you're doing these things. The paths will align. It kind of it's weird that you sort of think I'll make this stuff, or I'll make this artwork, or I'll do this kind of thing, and then the right people see it, and it's just you never know where it leads. It's quite amazing sometimes.
Absolutely. How about Phantasmagoria? Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that
Yeah,
right. That's
yeah,
a
that's a
mouthful
weird
for
name, right?
sure. Yeah.
That's a really weird one. So yeah, it means like dreamlike sequence is what it actually means. So yeah, that again was weirdly it was Comic Con. So I was filming Comic Con events, and as a fan, I kind of went to them and I thought, this is something I want to do. So I'd film them just to show the cosplayers and the cool, people that were there and the guests, and then met a company who were in there basically doing the same thing, but they were doing it as like a TV show and they were shooting the pilot and got chatting. And they were kind of, what were you doing? And I said, oh, basically the same thing you're doing. So they sort of said, well, why don't we join forces and kind of, work together and see what we can kind of mash together. So the central idea was taking the Comic Con as it was and then kind of condensing it into a TV show. So anyone who hadn't been could kind of like watch this show and then go, oh, I know what it's about. There's guests and there's props and there's cars and there's cosplayers and, it kind of gives them a taste for what there is. And that's kind of how that worked out. So yeah, again, another weird, just right place, right time.
Well, and that ended up being like a TV series, right? Was it 5 episodes? Or was
Yes, it was. Yeah, so we had so it was predominantly filmed in the UK with sort of looks. We filmed it and it was shown, I believe, I'm not sure exactly where, what channels, but it was shown in America, and then but it was all UK cons, and then the plan was to kind of develop that and move that forward, and then come to the US, kind of do some of your events, and obviously a much larger scope than it is here in the UK, and then COVID happened and things, so it kind of put a kibosh on a lot of things. But as it did, but there's still stuff in the works. It's still thinking of that continuing that on. It just kind of got shelved a little bit because of everything that went on. So
understandable, understandable. How about conventional?
yeah, so unconventional is basically our sort of YouTube version of that. So once again, COVID came on, we were like, well, let's try and take it to YouTube and see if we can do something similar. So again, just keeping the flow of what was going, keeping the sort of audience that we'd grown, interested and showing them other sort of events that we could do, and just keeping that going really. And that was again weirdly where I met one of the actors who's in the conversation, as we'll mention later. But yeah, that's how we kind of met. We'd done some things through again Comic Cons, and he was one of my presenters on that. So yeah, that's how I first sort of got into working with Kieran.
That's awesome, man. All right, let's see. Well, I mean, let's talk about the conversation because that's why we're here today. You actually have a Kickstarter going on right now. I believe you have, let's see, 15 or 12 days ago. So there's only 12 days
We
to
do.
go, so plenty of time for people to jump in and support this work. Maybe give us a little bit of a kind of elevator pitch as to what fans can expect from the conversation.
Okay, so anyone knows the ASAP Imagination world, it will be a all new story. That's not We're not taking anything from the comics that already exists. This is an all new story that kind of links with the greater world, and it will fit between comics. So it's this kind of cool new story, and anyone that doesn't know anything about it at all can kind of join on this. And it wouldn't have any kind of spoilings to any of the comics or anything that go in there. They can kind of see this, enjoy this, and then, oh, I'll look in and check out the comics. So it's basically taking two existing characters that already exist, which is the Dead Knight from the Dead of Night series, comic series, and Foe, who's from the Messiah comic book series. And it's just basically the premise is these two, characters who are fan favorites. What would happen if, because they haven't met in the comics yet. So what would happen if they had a chance encounter? How would that go? What would happen? Would they be friends? Would they be foes? And, it's all about the kind of that, an unstoppable force meets an immovable object kind of scenario. So that's where we're playing. That's our sort of sandbox that we're playing with this movie. So yeah, it's kind of fun.
I love that. Well, let's see. Why don't we kind of go to the homepage, because you could kind of see how this world kind of intertwines with the timeline on the front page, and that might help provide a little bit more perspective for those that are watching. So you can see right here on the front page when you go to asapimagination.com, you can kind of see the timeline of events when it comes to the storyline that you're talking about right here, from points of villainy. Points of Virtue, Sister Grimm, and then here you go, like you had mentioned, Messiah, which I have read. I have both of those issues. Absolutely fantastic. And then as you get toward the bottom right here, you do have Dead of Nights right there. So you are taking those two main characters and kind of giving fans what it would be like if they did kind of come together. It'd be really interesting to see if they do get along. I feel like they're very different. So it'd be really interesting. Can you kind of talk about how you were introduced to Hades or vice versa, and how this idea about building out this film within this world started?
Of course, yeah. So basically, again, events, comic cons. Yeah, I think that's the main sort of object. Go to places where these things happen. It's kind of a great meeting point for people. But yeah, basically, again, the guy I mentioned earlier, Kieran, who was one of my presenters for Unconventional, we were filming another event, which was basically the Never Ending Fantasy Con. So it was kind of everything great, kind of 80s movies. I was there filming the event, and I'd also been working with Tammy Stronach, who was from the Neverending Story. She played the childlike empress.
Oh,
So she had a new film called Man and Witch, which is like an 80s style fantasy that she's just kind of brought out. And I did a little bit of work with her with that film. So I was there to kind of say hello because I hadn't actually met her in person, So I was there doing that and meeting her. And Kieran was doing some promo for the actual event. Was dressed in this kind of full bard costume, with his hat and feather and kind of everything, really Shakespearean. And just weirdly, when he was outside, there was a wedding going on, and they were like, "Oh, this kind of strange guy is walking through our wedding, but procession," and kind of took some photos and things. And Hades kind of thought, "Oh, who's this kind of strangely dressed guy?" And then went over and kind of introduced himself, and they started talking. And then he mentioned obviously the big world that they kind of done of comics and how he wanted to do more animation and take it live action and kind of really expand the media for that world. And Kieran was like, "Well, I'm an actor, and I work with a guy inside who happens to be a filmmaker." And so they introduced themselves, got to meet. I didn't actually meet Hades at the event because I was running around like an idiot filming stuff. So I was really busy. But I did sort of obviously passed on details, and Kieran said to me, "Oh, no, I spoke to this guy. I think you guys would really hit it off. You really need to meet each other." And right from the get go, first conversation, we sort of spoke, and it was very clear straight away that we had the same influences. We've watched the same cartoons. We're both the same age, born in the same year, so everything's just very strangely aligned. And yeah, the minute we started chatting, we knew, this is what we want to do. And what I liked was once Hades introduced me to his world, um, I was very impressed with, what he'd kind of created. And, as you showed in that timeline, the kind of wealth of characters and stories is just like immense. And I thought, it's not every day you get to get in at the ground floor level of something like this that could, really take off and really be sort of big. I mean, it already is in the comic world, but then to take it and, maybe make it TV or make it film, was really exciting. So I thought, yeah, this is a great opportunity. And what I really liked was that Hades didn't want to just replicate something he'd already done. He wanted to do, a new story that was in canon, and it was going to be something new. And again, bringing rather than starting with, let's start with one character. I like the idea of that we've taken two and we're doing a crossover right from the get go, which is kind of unusual. Usually you get an origin story, don't you, or something like that to sort of whet people's appetite. But this will be straight with a crossover, which I thought was really interesting.
that is beautiful. Well, now has production started, I assume?
Yeah, so essentially we are in the sort of still in the preliminary stages of it, but we've got quite far. So we've kind of done location scouting. We've hired our actors. So we've got Kieran Christopher Donnelly, who's playing the Dead Knight. We've got Sonny Mihailovich, who's playing Foe. And he's great. He's kind of a free runner parkour guy. So he's very athletic, jumping around, doing all that great acrobatic stuff. So I think we're going to see some great stuff from him. And he fits that character so well. And again, Kieran with his Shakespearean background, he's kind of, he's built to kind of play the Dead Knight. Really, he's just kind of he's a big guy as well, big stature. So yeah, we've got our actors cast. We've kind of shot. We know where we want to be location wise. We've got costumes being put together. So we have things like this wonderful
Oh, that's
Dead
awesome.
Knight helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah, there, and you can see the like this gives you sorry, Kieran, but this gives you a sort of shot of how big he is. That's a good. You can see it dwarfs me in that. It's crazy. So, um, he's very big guy. So he's looking forward to putting that on. And then we've also got Sonny's mask as well, playing Foe.
Yeah.
So the masks are done. Foe's costume's pretty much all done. We're just still finishing off. Obviously, the Dead Knight's a kind of suit of armor or mismatched suit of armor. So we're kind of still building the parts of that. Some of it's 3D printed, so it takes a bit of time. So that's still in the works. And we scripts there, that's done, but we're just going through choreo now. So obviously, should these guys decide they're not kind of good friends and they go into a tussle a little bit, then we're just doing the choreo and making sure that that can kind of work out and how their fight styles would kind of work, that kind of sort of thing. So yeah, it's quite good. So scripts are done, actors have sort of signed on, location scouting sort of pretty much there. Suits are just being finished, and then we're just sort of doing choreography and stuff and getting it all together, really. So yeah, and then obviously with the Kickstarter, that's helping to kind of help fund and go into the creation of all this to then make sure we've got all the right gear and kind of got all the stuff that we need to kind of shoot the film and basically deliver the best thing we can for yourself and for the other fans out there as well. So we want to make sure that it all feels legit and it all kind of feels that we're at as good a standard as we can sort of do for the sort of low budget. And we're looking at it also as a proof of concept, so that we want to take this further. We've got other stories that we kind of already, we're already sort of writing ahead and sort of planting little seeds of things that could kind of be in there. So, we want it as a proof of concept as well to show what we can do and how we could build this world further.
I love that. Well, let's jump right into the Kickstarter and show everybody. Well, obviously, all the links will be right below to make it very easy for everyone to get over to the Kickstarter so they could back this and see these characters come to life. But here we go. Here it is. The conversation. We'll jump right in right here. I mean, I love the poster, so I assume this poster, a blend of both those characters coming together, which I absolutely love. I assume since you're the pro at putting film posters together, this is your work.
This is me. Yeah, this is my work. Yeah, Hades kind of, we both weirdly came up with a similar kind of idea. We both were like, oh, Hades sent me like a comic version and said, oh, this is what I was thinking of the poster. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly where I was going with it too. And then, yeah, this is kind of, so this is actually our suits photographed and then placed together in the poster. So this is more of a teaser. There might be another poster kind of coming out in the works as well, but this is definitely like, this just kind of whets that appetite of these two forces coming together. I think it represents that quite well.
I love that. All right, well, let's. You kind of gave us already a little bit of an overview of what fans can expect. Here is some of the artwork from the comic book, I assume. Looks like
Yeah,
it.
that was actually, I think it was a fan art
Oh,
piece that
okay.
was done by somebody. It's fantastic, such a great representation of Foe, I think there.
Yeah, look,
And we want to recreate a lot of these photos with the live action as well. Once we've got the actors on set, because again, we'll probably be shooting kind of London or kind of London-esque sort of backgrounds, because that's where it kind of mainly takes place. We want to kind of recreate some of this great artwork as well, so that it's kind of it gives fans that kind of that I recognize that from if they've read the comics or they've kind of seen the social media of ASAP Imagination, they'll have seen these pictures plastered around and be like, oh, that looks familiar, but then give it a live action twist. So that's kind of fun to recreate those.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is beautiful. Looks like artist Bracy, if I'm reading that correct at the bottom right there. But yeah,
Yeah,
what a great picture. I love the rain. Everything about it looks incredible.
it's gorgeous, isn't it?
It's gorgeous, yeah. All right. Come down here. Here is the Dead Knight.
The Dead Knight. Yeah.
Amazing. Is this more fan art?
I think this was actually a piece that was done by one of the artists, I believe, or an artist that Hades knows.
Mhm.
But again, it's a really kind of I love those two pieces of art when we were have been promoting and doing stuff at Comic Cons. It's those two pictures I think really kind of sum up that kind of relaxed, more parkour nature of Foe, and then this kind of this big stature of the Dead Knight. I think these pictures are really really good, and they really blend well together. I think
I love that. Looks amazing. Sir Robert Ward.
Robert Ward, yeah,
So here is the creative team. Um, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but you actually represent Bad Mosquito Films, and then
that's
obviously
right.
Hades here from ASAP Imagination, who, like I said, is incredible. All kinds of amazing comic books, and he has the Any One World with over 100 different creators from all over the world, where you could purchase their works digitally. So head over to ASAP Imagination, but. Um, so here
And
we
there's
go.
Sunny.
So here is Sunny, who you had mentioned who will be playing Foe, which I mean looks just like him, so that's pretty awesome. I think it'll be a
And
perfect fit.
Sunny, if you look on Sunny's social media as well, you can see some of his great parkour videos and some of the great sort of acrobatic moves that he pulls off. It's really quite impressive. So it's just Sunny Mihailovic, just all one word
Oh.
on with an at the beginning for his social media. But yeah, some of his videos are just really really cool, and that was what the caught our eye straight away. We were like, wow, this guy's great.
So you just reached out to him via social media, or you had already worked with him before, you said?
So Kieran's actually worked with
Oh.
Sunny several times, and again, Kieran actually does sort of Shakespeare nights, and he does sort of like he does a lot of teaching, and he does a lot of Shakespeare shows he puts on himself. And Sunny's actually worked with him previously, so it's actually Kieran who kind of put us onto Sunny and said, look, he does all this kind of free running and parkour stuff. You should really check him out. And so it was at Kieran's kind of Kieran's hooked us up with kind of Sunny really and showed us what he could do, and we were like, wow, this is great. And then obviously we reached out to Sunny, see if he'd be interested, which he was. So we were like, fantastic.
Yeah, he looks like he was born for that role for sure, Darren.
Definitely, I think so.
Yeah, yeah. Anytime
And
that you
there's a lot of Kieran.
braid your
Kieran,
yeah, anytime you braid your beard, you got that. Either you could be a Viking or a knight for sure, right?
100%.
And here's those masks that you just showed us that are already
That's
produced.
right.
You're working on the rest of it, which is great. So let's kind of walk through what people can get as reward
Yes.
for backing. So you want to walk us through this and
Yep. So obviously there'd be a digital copy of the film.
Mhm.
That's the first one there. And then, being guys of a certain age, again, we like our physical media. We like having our comics in our hands and kind of, collectibles. And as you can see here, as you know well, look in your background, wonderful collectibles you've got. So yeah, we've actually got those. So we'll have a physical DVD
oh, that's so
we've
cool.
got there
Wow,
that everyone can then have so if that's your kind of cup of tea. So that's that one there. So yeah, that's the DVD copy.
that's amazing.
And then you've got the kind of then DVD and then the poster because we have posters of what you showed before.
Oh,
It's
that's
just there. So it's
love.
just a larger picture of that with it, but it's a nice reversible picture as well. So on the back there we
Oh.
have who is the Conjector, who is another strange character who keeps popping up left, right, and center, and he's at his own social media. So yeah, keep an eye out for this guy. He seems to keep appearing where we don't want him to, and spilling the beans and letting things know what's going on behind the curtain. So yeah, keep an eye on that guy too.
I love that. And then this
And
makes
then there's a gift
right.
box.
Yeah. Oh, please go ahead.
And then yeah, so a gift box. So in that one you have both issues of the comics, the first edition of the comics that both characters are in, and then you've got the physical copy as well, and then you can have a digital copy too.
Wow, I love that.
And this is cool. So this is some sort of a fun idea we thought would be to get people in the movie as well. So anybody supporting Kickstarter who chooses this as one of their rewards, you can basically have a missing poster. So anybody that knows the world knows that there was the event happened and the world was plunged into darkness and loads of people went missing and still are missing and we don't know what's happened to them. So you at home could have your face and your details put on here, or details of your dog or your neighbor or anybody you wanted. And then you will be featured in the beginning of the film. So at the opening of the film, there's like a wall of the missing, and then throughout the film as well, to just to cement the world, there'll be kind of posters placed around, and part of the Kickstarter is that you can be in one of those posters, so you'd actually be in the movie, which we thought was kind of a real cool way of getting fans and people watching it actually involved.
That is so cool, man. I love that. And here goes both packages right here, the DVD and the missing page for you.
That's the one.
I love it. I love it.
And then yeah, producer credit. So producer credit at the end of the movie, and then obviously that would also then go on IMDb as well. So if you any producer credits or any credits that are on there that you purchase will then automatically go onto an IMDb credit too, which is if that's something that people are interested in or they're trying to, like you said, get into the film world, this is a great sort of way of doing that.
That's awesome, man. And then
Yeah, one
look
of our
at
add-ons.
that.
So yeah, this isn't for the faint-hearted or for necessarily everybody, but we also, again, we wouldn't be real kind of media collectors if we didn't have a VHS copy too. So that's our VHS copy.
I love it. If you're my age, can we get it in beta?
This is something we were talking about actually, because obviously again it's working out Betamax, great top loaders, all that good stuff. But I
Yes.
remember back in the day we lost the war. My family chose the wrong format. We followed Betamax, and then after that VHS one out, we were like, oh, of course it did. Back when the players were a little bit more expensive, but yeah, we thought it'd be kind of fun. We know there's only so many people have, VHS collectibles out there. But for the people that do, we thought it'd be kind of a great little kick, a little extra copy that they could have that just kind of cements it. And there's a great video shop over here in the UK, the 80s video shop. They've actually it's a proper video store that like it was back in the day. And we've sort of spoken to them. I said, once we've got the copy up and done, and we've got a VHS copy, can we have it in store? And they were like, yeah, that'd be great. We'd love it. So we're looking to do cinema nights and things as well. So they do little cinema nights in the back of the video shop. So I think that speaking with them, maybe that's something else that we can kind of do a video night there, do a show in, and then have the video on the shelf, which is really exciting, really.
That is really cool. Might be one of the newest movies that they've received too on VHS in a while, I would think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
They could reload the news section. Well,
exactly.
this is awesome, Ben. This is great, man. I love the V. It's funny. I was in the garage earlier with my wife, and we were throwing some cardboard away, and there our VHS machine is sitting there just waiting for a movie to be played. So perfect.
There you go. See. It's a good one because I mean again myself as a filmmaker it's growing up I have children and we're lucky enough that they're of an age that they still they knew what Blockbuster was. We took them to Blockbuster to kind of rent stuff and do all that good sort of stuff, and then but to actually be a filmmaker and never have that because obviously streaming is a thing now. So but I still get to kind of live that fantasy because I'll actually have a film that I've made on VHS in a video store. I think that's kind of a good tick off the old bucket list there for me, I think.
That is so cool. Well, the link is going to be right below. So everyone get over to our YouTube page. Once you're done watching this, just go right below, click that link and go right to the Kickstarter where you could back the conversation, which looks absolutely awesome and fun. I cannot wait to get my hands on it myself. This sounds like a blast. Man. So Ben, have you already started thinking about from a streaming standpoint where maybe this will be put up later on once it is complete?
Yeah, so I think one of the plans is I think Hades, very well. He's very very sort of good business brain. So I think his plan is to maybe like do streaming. I think himself through his website. I think that's the plan roughly, or that's the bigger picture. So I think yeah, we'd definitely be looking at having it streaming somewhere, or just having it. You can download a copy or wherever whichever way you want to do it. But yeah, I think that's the kind of plan from the streaming aspect. Not saying we wouldn't put it up elsewhere as well, but I think the bigger picture, I think Hades likes the kind of thought of, doing everything through his own sort of company and doing it through ASAP and keeping it all in house. But that's not to say that, it might not appear on Amazon somewhere or something like that. I think definitely, we wouldn't cut that off as an option. There's always a kind of option there. But I know Hades would love to just kind of take his platform to that next level now. Oh, I'm streaming movies too, so I know he's quite excited about kind of taking it that step further as well.
Oh, as he should be. I mean, ASAP is not that old. I mean, it's a couple, maybe 4 years old. From what he has accomplished in a short period of time, he's got to be at least one of the fastest growing publishers in the UK. And there's some really
Definitely.
good comic publishers. So he's doing things right. He's diversifying and hitting all these different branches off the ASAP imagination trunk, which I think is absolutely fabulous. Ben, I would love to give you an opportunity. Are there other things that you're working on too that you would like to share, or a lot of it you can't share yet?
Some of it I can't share yet,
Yeah, yeah.
but keep an eye out on socials again at Bad Mosquito Films across every platform pretty much. And again, with regards to the conversation at ASAP Imagination to keep up with, we share stuff on there as well. But yeah, no, I mean the conversation is kind of my main sort of focus at the moment. Obviously, just still working as Bad Mosquito Films and doing other bits and bobs. But yeah, there's definitely some other things that I can't talk about on the horizon, so keep an eye out. But yeah, no, definitely at the moment it's primarily is my full focus is the conversation and making sure I do, justice to Hades and to you guys at home watching, make sure that we kind of, put a really good film out there for you guys and hopefully, get you all kind of wanting more and deliver more into this world for you all.
I love it. Well, as far as socials go, to follow you, you kind of already mentioned one of them already, which is Bad Mosquito Films. So people could go to that on, I think, most social media and just plug that in and make
Yeah.
sure you give it a follow. Obviously, follow ASAP Imagination if you're not already doing so already. Um, Anything else, Ben, that we're leaving out, my friend?
No, I think that's it pretty much. Obviously, if they're not already, as I'm sure they would be, like and subscribe and follow yourself. We appreciate the great work you're doing, Tommy, and I thank you very much for giving us your platform to kind of speak about the conversation. So we appreciate it a lot, and yeah, just keep an eye on socials. If you type in at Bad Mosquito Films on most socials, look for the yellow triangle, that diamond. That's on there, and weirdly, again, it fits with the kind of the Church of the Luminous with ASAP as well, which is crazy. These kind of coincidences that go on, but yeah, no, I thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak about it.
Well, once the movie does come out and we have watched it, I would love to have you back, Ben, so we could kind of talk about the movie once it's completed, talk about our favorite parts, and I cannot wait. I'm assuming once this is done, knowing Hades, he's already going to have some ideas with you on kind of that next chapter, whether it is the same two characters or we add a few more within that world that's been created. Either way, we'd love to have you back, man. I think that'd be a lot of fun, my friend.
Oh yeah, I'd love it. Love to come back and speak about it and like I said, have a little nerd out and talk about things and yeah, I think it'd be great fun, Tommy. Thank you very much.
Well, Ben, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure meeting you. I will blast this all over social media. Everyone, get over to Kickstarter and make sure that you get your hands on this amazing title. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The conversation. Also, get over to ASAP Imagination, start building out your collection of the world that's been created. It's all going to make a lot more sense if you do that. Not that you need to do that, but it'll be a lot of fun to have that as the backdrop as you're watching the conversation. But Ben, I hope you have an amazing rest of your week. And again, I really do thank you for spending some time with me this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Tommy. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I hope you have a good week as also.
I appreciate it. Until next time, my friend, have a good one.
Thank you very much.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.